Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we continue our look at the Christmas hymns and connect them to the biblical stories that inspired them and try to apply them to our lives as we get closer to Christmas Day itself. We've looked at two very popular hymns, and today we're going to look at a less known one, but a meaningful one nonetheless. Then we will read the associated verses from the scriptures and then have a few talking points before we close out the video. If this is your first time watching any of these videos, thank you for joining us, and for those who have been following this short series and the channel since its inception, thank you. So let's get right into it without any further ado. We three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. This story is actually inspired by the birth of Christ as recorded by Matthew. So Matthew chapter 2, I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, "Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, 'Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star in the east and have come to worship him.' And when Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And gathering together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he was inquiring of them where the Christ was to be born. And they said to him, 'In Bethlehem of Judea. For this is what has been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the leaders of Judah. For out of you shall come forth a leader who will shepherd my people Israel.' And Herod secretly called the Magi and carefully determined from them the time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, 'Go and search carefully for the child, and when you have found him, report to me, so that I too may come and worship him.' Now after hearing the king, they went their way, and behold, the star which they had seen in the east was going on before them, until it came and stood over the place where the child was. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And after coming into the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they fell to the ground and worshipped him. Then, opening their treasures, they presented to him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, the Magi departed for their own country by another way." So here is the story of Christmas. A few weeks to maybe 2 years after Christ was born, these wise men, as we call them, or Magi, from a faraway country come searching for this child. And how did they know that this child was born? What gave them a clue as to the significance of this child? Well, it was a star. This auspicious star, as they'll say, this good luck star, this very important star of the east, a very rare star which doesn't often appear in the sky, is the sign that led these wise men to Christ. Now, we don't know exactly how many wise men there were, and we don't know for sure how they knew, how they connected the appearance of this star to the birth of a king. There is a very interesting documentary which I'll link below the video that you can watch if you like, called The Star of Bethlehem. And there is a great deal of research that goes into what this star could possibly be and how these scholars, these wise men from the east, could interpret the meaning and connect it to the birth of this king. The essence of the story is this, that Christ was born and his birth wasn't very well advertised among his own people. In the first chapter of John records that Jesus came to his own, and his own didn't receive him. And these strangers from a faraway land were guided by God to Christ. They almost understood the significance of this child. and Jesus' own people were unaware. So what does this mean for us? This is a good story to show how God can use any person who comes to him once they understand the significance of who Christ is and what he has done, what Christmas truly means and what Christ truly represents. He can transform their lives. These men weren't Jews. They weren't familiar with the culture of the Jewish people. As soon as they came into the room where Jesus and his mom were, they immediately fell down and worshipped him, because something about this small child evoked reverence and awe in them. And it is the same for us. When we encounter Christ as he truly is, when we truly understand the meaning of Christ's birth, his life, his death, his resurrection, what that does for us is something that cannot be described in words. And so I invite you today to reflect on this story. Think about what Christ means. Think about the significance of his life and what transformation that makes for you. And if you don't know Christ, I invite you to get to know who he is. Not by what I say or not by what people say, but read the scriptures for yourself, and you will come to understand the importance of who Christ is and what Christ's work can do in your life. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for sticking with me through this mini series, and I pray that this will add some value to you. If you'd like, please leave a comment in the section below of any recommendations that you may have for future videos. And until next time, see you. Have a good day or good night, wherever you are.